Staff Sergeant Marcus Holloway told the new recruit she looked like she'd struggle carrying her own ruck, let alone finishing the course. 26-year-old Corporal Rain Castellano stood 5'3" in a sea of 6-foot frames, her slight build drawing smirks from the platoon. What none of them knew was that she'd spent 18 years training in her father's search and rescue compound in the Colorado Rockies, where a weak grip meant death on a cliffside, Fort Benning's obstacle. Course stretched out under the Georgia sun like a challenge carved into red clay. Rain Castellanos reported for her first day with the 75th Ranger Regiment Support Battalion at 26 years old, already knowing what the others saw when they looked at her: small, young, female. None of those things typically screamed Ranger material. She'd enlisted at 18 after spending her entire childhood in the San Juan Mountains with her father, a former Army Ranger turned wilderness search and rescue specialist. While other kids played soccer, Rain learned rope systems on frozen waterfalls. While they did homework, she practiced emergency rappels and load calculations. Her mother, a physical therapist for Olympic athletes, had designed strength programs. That turned Rain's compact frame into something deceivingly capable. The other soldiers didn't know any of this. They saw her regulation haircut, her spotless uniform that looked too crisp, too new. Staff Sergeant Marcus Holloway stood near the course entrance with his arms crossed, watching the new arrivals with the tired expression of someone who'd seen 1,000 recruits come and go. If you want to hear more stories about veterans who proved everyone wrong, hit that subscribe button. These are the stories that deserve to be told. Rain's father had lost 2 partners in mountain rescues before she was born. Both times, equipment failure combined with inadequate upper body strength had turned routine extractions into tragedies. He'd built his entire training philosophy around one principle: technique beats size, but technique plus strength beats everything. By age 12, Rain could ascend a fixed rope using only her arms. By 15, she was assisting on actual rescues, the youngest certified rescue technician in Colorado. Her father never went easy on her. The mountains didn't care about excuses, he'd say, and neither would the people depending on you. She joined the Army because she wanted to serve something larger than herself. The search and rescue world was small, insular. She'd proven everything she needed to prove there. The military offered a different kind of challenge, a different kind of meaning. Her father had served with the Rangers in the 90s, and she'd grown up hearing stories about the brotherhood, the standard, the quiet pride of being part of something elite. What drove her wasn't ego. It was the memory of a rescue when she was 17. A climber had fallen on Crestone Needle, and Rain had rappelled down a sheer face in a lightning storm because she was the only one small enough to reach the narrow ledge where he'd landed. She'd stabilized his neck, rigged a litter, and guided him up through conditions that had more experienced rescuers shaking their heads. She knew what she was capable of. Now she just needed everyone else to see it. The morning briefing happened in an equipment shed that smelled like canvas and gun oil. Holloway stood at the front, clipboard in hand, calling out course requirements. 2 miles of hell, he called it. Rope climbs, wall scaling, cargo nets, tire runs, monkey bars, balance beams over water obstacles. He paused when he got to Rain's name on the roster. Castellanos, he said, looking her up and down. You sure you're in the right place? Support Battalion usually runs a different track. Rain kept her expression neutral. She'd requested assignment to combat support because that's where they needed rope specialists for helicopter operations. I'm sure, Staff Sergeant, one of the men behind her, a guy named Briggs who looked like he bench-pressed small cars, made a sound that might have been a laugh. Holloway didn't tell him to shut up. Listen, Holloway continued, his tone shifting into something that probably thought it was helpful. Nobody's questioning your commitment, but this course is designed for combat roles. The physical standards are different. There's no shame in, I'd like to run the course, Rain interrupted. Sir Holloway's jaw tightened. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Several soldiers shifted their weight, suddenly very interested in their boots. The thing about command is that technically, Holloway couldn't stop her. The course was open to anyone in the battalion who wanted to qualify. But his expression made it clear what he thought about her chances. "Fine," he said finally. Course record is 18 minutes 42 seconds. Set by Sergeant First Class DeMarco 3 years ago. Most people finish around 25 to 30 minutes. If you can break 30, I'll be impressed. Briggs muttered something to the soldier next to him. The words sounded like waste of time. Rain said nothing. She'd learned a long time ago that talking didn't change minds. Performance did. In the barracks bathroom, Rain stared at her reflection and did the mental preparation her mother had taught her. Visualization, breathing, muscle awareness. She wasn't angry. Anger was useless. Holloway's skepticism wasn't personal, not really. He was working from a template, a set of assumptions built from years of watching people fail. Most people probably did struggle with the course. Most people hadn't spent their developmental years learning that fear was just information, that pain was just a signal, that your body could do extraordinary things if your mind stayed calm. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. The mountain doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care if you're tired or scared or hurt. It only cares about competence. She thought about the climber on Crestone Needle. How his eyes had locked onto hers in the lightning flash. How she'd kept her voice steady while securing the anchors, even though her hands were numb and the wind was trying to tear her off the rock face. How she'd known, absolutely known, that she would get him off that mountain because the alternative was unacceptable. This course was nothing compared to that. This was engineered obstacles with safety measures and medical personnel standing by. This was controlled, predictable. She changed into her PT gear, laced her boots with the precise tension her father had taught her, and walked toward the course. The morning air tasted like pine and red clay dust. She was ready. The course started with a mile run, then immediately hit the rope climb. 30 feet of thick manila rope, no footholds. Rain watched the soldier ahead of her, a tall guy with obvious upper body strength, muscle his way up using mostly arms. He made it, but he was breathing hard at the top. When her turn came, she wrapped the rope around her leg in a J-hook, using her feet to grip and push while her arms pulled. Technique. She moved up the rope smoothly, efficiently, and was over the top before some of the watching soldiers seemed to register she'd started. The wall came next. 12 feet of vertical wood, too high to jump, even for the tall soldiers. They had to run, leap, catch the top edge, and pull themselves over. Rain watched 3 men go before her, all successful, but all struggling with the pull-up portion. She ran at the wall, planted her foot halfway up to gain extra height, caught the edge with both hands, and used a technique called a muscle-up that her father had drilled into her thousands of times. She was over the wall in one fluid motion. Behind her, she heard Briggs say something that included the words "got lucky," the cargo net, the tire run, the balance beam over a mud pit. Rain moved through each obstacle with the same calm precision, no wasted movement, no hesitation. She'd done variations of all of these in the mountains, usually in worse conditions, usually with actual consequences for failure. But she could feel the clock. 18 minutes, 42 seconds. That was the number. That was what would change. Everything from lucky to legitimate. The monkey bars appeared ahead. 40 feet of overhead horizontal bars. This was where people failed. This was where grip strength gave out. Rain's shoulders burned. Her forearms felt like they were full of battery acid. The monkey bars stretched ahead of her, and she was only halfway through. This was the moment. This was where her body would either hold or it wouldn't. She thought about her mother's training programs, the specific exercises designed to build grip endurance, the hours spent hanging from door frames, from tree branches, from anything that would hold her weight. The understanding that grip strength wasn't just about forearm muscles, but about hand structure, tendon conditioning, neurological adaptation. She kept moving, hand over hand. Her breath came steady despite the fire in her muscles. She didn't look down. She didn't think about the distance remaining. She thought about the next bar. Just the next bar. When her feet hit the ground on the far side, she didn't pause. The final stretch was a quarter-mile sprint to the finish. Her legs felt surprisingly fresh. All those years of mountain hiking, of carrying rescue equipment up steep terrain, had built a different kind of endurance than flat ground running. She could see the finish line. She could see Holloway standing there with a stopwatch, his expression unreadable. She pushed harder, drawing on reserves she knew were there because she'd mapped them, tested them, proven them in environments where failure meant more than embarrassment. She crossed the line and bent over, hands on knees, pulling air into her lungs. Holloway was staring at the stopwatch like it had personally offended him. 17 minutes, he said quietly. 58 seconds. The soldiers who'd finished ahead of her, who'd been standing around recovering, went silent. Rain straightened up. She wasn't smiling. This wasn't about gloating. Holloway looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Then he nodded once, sharp, definitive. The word spread through the battalion before lunch. New course record. Set by the small woman everyone had dismissed that morning. Briggs found her in the mess hall. He didn't apologize directly, but he asked if she'd be willing to show him her rope technique. Said he'd been using just arms, hadn't realized there was a better way. Holloway pulled her aside after afternoon formation. His tone was different now, professional. He wanted to know about her background, her training. When she explained about the search and rescue work, about her father's program, he listened with the focus of someone genuinely interested. "We need rope specialists for helicopter insertion training," he said. "I was going to assign it to DeMarco, but I think he'd be better. You interested?" She was interested. 2 months later, Rain was teaching rope techniques to the entire battalion. Her classes became mandatory for anyone qualifying for air assault operations. The same soldiers who doubted her now trusted her with their lives. Literally, as she checked their harnesses and anchor points before training exercises, her father called every Sunday. She told him about the course record, about the teaching assignment. He didn't sound surprised. "The mountains prepared you," he said. "Everything else is just application." Rain stood in the barracks that evening, looking at the course schedule she'd helped design. Tomorrow she'd be teaching advanced rappelling. Next week, emergency rope rescues. She'd proven what she needed to prove. Now she could do what she'd come here to do: serve, teach, and make sure everyone made it home.